Good morning, everyone, and welcome into Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today, we're finishing up our sleepers per team by heading over to the National Football Conference, giving you 16 Dynasty sleepers, one per NFC team. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. And guys, I have some terrible news. Also, some really bad news. Today, I ran out of coffee, didn't have time to go get coffee. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're taking out our orange juice, sitting back, relaxing, and enjoying the show. I've got to say, I might have to do some OJ more often. It's kind of refreshing. Kind of refreshing getting my vitamins in the morning. It's nice. It's nice. You know what also is nice? Jeremy Allsbrook, you're a pretty nice guy. And everyone here in the chat, y'all are awesome. But there's nothing like coming in to the room and just seeing, let's get energized. Yesterday's show was great. Awesome. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed yesterday's show so much, and I'm glad to be able to follow it back up. Enjoy your sativa blend, Jeremy. Anthony, good morning to you. Dakota, good morning to you. RV, good morning to you. Bindles, Jeremy again. Dakota, happy that you all are here. Thanks for tuning in. And to answer your question, RV, before we get going, where's my favorite draft position? This is a great segue. It is number 12. I like drafting last. I am a sucker, A, for taking the value that people passed up on, but B, I am also a chronic reacher. And that is the best draft position to reach because you have to wait so long between picks. You kind of look all around and it's like you kind of get stuck with your guys more often than not when you're picking at that 12 hole. And so I like it. I have a really fun time. I've done that now 3 years in a row with the Scott Fishbowl doing the 12 hole. And generally when I'm doing my best ball drafts, I get really upset when I'm picking at the front of the draft. I don't like the top tier talent. Yeah, well, obviously it's awesome to have it. Like, I'm not saying that. But really, like, you have to, yeah, this is redraft. This is redraft, I assume. You have to be right when it comes to that top tier talent that I hate making the wrong choice. I hate being at the top and having to choose between all the top tier talent. I would much rather let the top tier talent just fall to me and not have to make that decision. Because when you're picking at the 3 hole, for example, and it's like, oh, do I take Bijan Robinson, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Breece Hall? Like, it is just it's too big of a decision. I don't want to make that decision. I'll let the other people make it for me. I like picking at the back of the first round. Honestly, kind of the same in redraft or in startups as well, unless it's super flex. If it's super flex, you got to pick early. You got to get your quarterback. But otherwise, yes, I love the back-to-back picks. Love picking late. Let the value fall to me. And speaking of value, sleepers. We've got some sleepers for you today. Again, one per NFC team. And like yesterday, we started with the AFC North. Today, we'll start with the NFC North and go over to the Green Bay Packers. And you guys, if you've tuned into Wake and Take or any of my shows, you already know who I'm going to talk about here. And that is one of my favorite players in the world, Christian Watson. Christian Watson right now, it's hard to call him a sleeper, but he is valued at wide receiver 41, which I just think is undervalued. And when you're looking at the rest of the offense, this is the guy I want. I want Christian Watson every single place I can get him because generally players like him don't become acquirable at any point in their career, really. But unfortunately for him, and luckily for us as fantasy managers, he has had an injury bug, quite an injury bug when it comes to his hamstring. And that has just made people not want to trust him. But still, he has back-to-back seasons of averaging over 11 points per game. And when he gets hot, he gets hot. I mean, last year, he had 2 games in a row with over 20 points and then got injured again. His rookie season, he had like 9 touchdowns in a 4-game stretch before getting injured again. The dude just is electric when it comes to his production on the football field. An insane profile when you look at him, 6'4", 208 pounds, the second-round draft capital, all of his workout metrics above 90th percentile, except for his agility score. But even then, that's just because he's so tall and big that he's not crazy agile. But even then, at 63rd percentile, that's still above average for the NFL, which is just incredible. And then he was just purely dominant in college as well. I know it was a smaller school, but still, I mean, when you watch his highlight tapes, it looks like he's going up against high schoolers out there. So anyway, Christian Watson, we've seen him have a massive ceiling before, and really his only concern, everyone can tell you this, the only concern we have with Christian Watson is his health. And one of my favorite phrases as I continue to do this fantasy football thing is players are injury prone until they're not. I remember the days that Christian McCaffrey was injury prone, when Saquon Barkley was injury prone, when Deebo Samuel was injury prone, when Tyreek Hill was injury prone. Players just get injured. That is the nature of our sport. At some point, Christian Watson will be healthy, and he's going to score an enormous amount of fantasy points. And right now, you could get him for way too cheap. So give me some Christian Watson. And another player with an explosive ceiling in the NFC North. And you guys, again, I had to start the show with the two that you guys already know about, Jameson Williams. My guy, JMO, although I cannot have JMO as my guy on Player Profiler because Tara Roberts already had him, he's my guy. I love Jameson Williams more than the next guy. And I can't believe that he is right now sitting at wide receiver 56 in our rankings, and probably even more acquirable in some other rankings and leagues and stuff like that. Now, the deal here is a lot of people don't necessarily have Jameson Williams or that roster Jameson Williams, value him lowly. I think that almost every manager that I've tried to trade for Jameson or trade Jameson Williams, like try to get Jameson Williams from, it's been pretty hard. Now I'm willing to pay the price. I love JMO. I'll pay what it takes. But you know, I've seen some like myself. I got clowned on the trade gods. I'm on the trade gods. I was like, you know what? If I had Jameson Williams, I would want at least 3 first-round picks for him. I don't want to get rid of him. This is a player that will succeed attached to an incredible offense. Right now, last year we saw in the NFC Championship, he scored 2 touchdowns off of only 3 touches and is continued to impress now in the offseason, with Dan Campbell coming out just yesterday saying he is the most improved player on the team, a man on a mission, which is what we've talked about. He had his rookie season kind of shortened because of an injury. And then last year, unfortunately, he had the whole suspension, which wasn't even a big deal. Let's talk about this for a second. He was betting on a basketball game. Like I can't believe that that's against the rules, that the NFL is in bed with all of these gambling companies, and yet NFL players can't gamble on other games. It's bullshit. It's stupid. And the fact he got suspended for that was really ridiculous, and I could understand why that's put a chip on his shoulder. And he's only come out and, you know, and impressed. I mean, last season, of course, it was hard to crack the field. There were a lot of wide receivers who were producing, but while he was suspended, in Josh Reynolds, in Khalif Raymond. But now Josh Reynolds is gone. Donovan Peoples-Jones, who they brought in kind of towards the end of the season, didn't really do anything, although he might be a deep sleeper as well, with, you know, the potential there. I mean, these are the outside receivers are probably going to be Jameson Williams and Donovan Peoples-Jones right now with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, he's over the middle. Sam Laporta, he's over the middle. So, I mean, really both the flankers in the Lions offense are going to be good, but Jameson Williams is the one with the first round draft capital. Jameson Williams is the one that's still only 23 years old. Jameson Williams is the one that we're hearing hype about. Jameson Williams is the one that produced in the NFC Championship. Jameson Williams is the guy with the 4.3 speed. Jameson Williams is the guy that played on a team with Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, then went to Alabama and was a star at Alabama as well. Jameson Williams has just been a stud throughout his career. And it's just kind of had a little bit of a rough start into his NFL career. But this is his first full season, first full off season even, and he's going to go out there. He's going to attack it. He's going to be awesome. I'm very excited for Jameson Williams' growth in year 3, and I want to buy him before he does explode, because it's already hard enough to get players on the Detroit Lions. Might as well get the explosive and fun one in JMO. Also, I'm starting to realize here, I think I'm a year early on a lot of players. As like last year, I was, 2 years ago, I've been on Christian Watson since a rookie, but last year, you know, Jameson Williams was one of my guys. Kyle Pitts was one of my guys. All of Nico Collins, like a lot of these players, George Pickens, like I was so in on last year, still in on this year, but it seems like, you know, that this is more the year. I should have just waited one more year on some of these players, and Jameson Williams is one of those, but I'm not giving up. In fact, I'm getting Jameson Williams everywhere I can. He's my highest exposed player in best ball for sure. So anyway, next is the Bears. And I'm honestly surprised that this player is so cheap right now. And that's Cole Kmet. Right now, Cole Kmet is valued at the tight end 14, which is probably, you know, right. And Red Eye Jedi, I'll just answer this question. 3 firsts for Jameis Wild. I agree. But that's just how much I love Jameson Williams. I don't want to get rid of him is the point. I like, if someone came to me and they were like, hey, I'll give you Mike Evans for Jamison Williams. I would say no. I want Jamison Williams. If someone came to me and was like, hey, I'll give you Stephon Diggs for Jamison Williams, I would say no. But that's just me. I'm not telling you guys to do that. I like Jamison Williams a lot. If he's on my roster, I'm keeping him. It is what it is. Fantasy football, at the end of the day, is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to roster our guys. Like, it's not all about, like, come on. If I want to win with Jamison Williams, that's just my philosophy. That's just one of those things. Anyway, Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet is who we were talking about here. And Cole Kmet right now, again, at tight end 14, which is, again, probably accurately valued. But when it comes to a player, especially at the tight end position like that, I think that it is, reasonable to buy in on that price. Right now, Cole Kmet is only 25 years old, which I think is surprising given he's been in the league for 4 years now. But now is also going into a year where he's going to finally have some good quarterback play. Cole Kmet has kind of struggled throughout his career, but only to a small degree. I mean, like, we've seen some decent production from him over the last 3 seasons. He's had over 500 yards, and in 2022, he scored 7 touchdowns. Last year, he scored 6, averaged over 10 points per game, which was pretty solid. He's got the second-round draft capital. He's got the size at 6'4", 260 pounds. He's got the college. I mean, he went to Notre Dame. And if you look at his, his PlayerProfiler.com profile, it's really not too bad, really across the board. Every single stat almost is good. He's top 10 in EPA, QB rating per target, best ball points, fantasy points per route run, fantasy points per target, total fantasy points, contested catch rate, dominator rating, target premium, target separation, catch rate, yards per team pass attempt, yards per target, yards per route run, target accuracy, fantasy points per game, second in total touchdowns, receiving yards, receptions, really across the board. I can go on and on and on about how Cole Kmet has been top 10. And so seeing him at tight end 14 with the quarterback upgrade with Caleb Williams, I think that I want to buy in on this guy because the Bears did pay him. I mean, he's the 9th highest paid tight end in the league right now, which is way up there. I mean, he's making over $12 million a year. And this is a guy who hasn't actually even done that much yet. So Cole Kmet, I'm buying in on in the Bears, especially since, DJ Moore's ridiculously expensive. Rome Odunze is ridiculously expensive. Keenan Allen's ridiculously expensive. Give me Cole Kmet. Give me Cole Kmet because I think that he's going to be there for a long time. And he's only 25. Second round draft capital. Got the quarterback upgrade. Mr. Kmet over here. Chicago Murr. On the Vikings, we have, this was a tough one, but I'm going with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, I haven't done many veterans in yesterday's episode. Today, we've got a few veterans, and maybe that's just the nature of the NFC. But Aaron Jones right now sitting at RB30, just signed a 1-year, $7 million contract with the Minnesota Vikings in his 29-year-old season. What this signifies to me is that this is Aaron Jones' last season, and he wants to go out with a bang. And he also kind of wants to stick it to the Green Bay Packers, who, kind of snubbed him to sign Josh Jacobs and sent him wild. But Aaron Jones in his career has done nothing but produce. Last year, 12 points per game, 14 points per game for that, 15, 18, 19, 14. Really just a consistent producer that does it both in the running game and the passing game. And that's going to be a running back that the Minnesota Vikings could use and rely on. Ty Chandler last year, his backup running back right now, presumably, just didn't do a lot when he was the starter. I mean, he was fine, right? I mean, he had one game over 20 points, one 15-point game, a couple 10-point games, but the rest were pretty abysmal, and he didn't do enough really to make the Vikings want to make him a featured part of this offense. And so I do think that Aaron Jones is the starter here and probably going to get similar usage to what we saw from him in Green Bay as a bell cow running back in both the running game and the passing game. And when you have a rookie quarterback and, even a bad quarterback in Sam Darnold, usually the run game is relied upon a decent bit. And Aaron Jones, again, 1 year, $7 million. They could just run him into the ground. He's 29. He probably doesn't have much prospects to get another contract after this anyway. So we're going swan song season for Aaron Jones, buying him as if I'm contending, probably taking some shots on him in redraft as well, as he could probably help out your RB room, and you could get his backup, Ty Chandler, his little handcuff action pretty cheap if you really, really need to. So Aaron Jones, to me, right now is a little bit of a sleeper on the Vikings, mostly because none of the others are cheap, right? I mean, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, they are all so expensive right now. So we'll go ahead and go with some Aaron Jones. Rubio's an Aaron Jones truther. Has anyone ever said that? When was I guess I should say when was the last time that was said? That's crazy. Congratulations, though. I think that, being an Aaron Jones truther should pay off for you this season. And really his whole career, he's probably paid off for you. Aaron Jones has always been acquirable despite being productive. It's one of those things. I call it the boring name syndrome, where you just if your name is Aaron Jones, if your name is Josh Jacobs, right? Just it's not that exciting, and so people just kind of find you boring. But you know, he's been good. He's been good. I like Aaron Jones. I'm excited to see what could happen with him in Minnesota, buying him at his price tag. So let's go from north to south and check into my Atlanta Falcons. There's a lot of ways that we could go here, and I think, you know, it really does depend. But I'm going to stick to the true meaning of the word in sleeper and go with Darnell Mooney. Now, I know I've, you know, been preaching to go acquire Michael Penix, and so I'll use this opportunity to say that again. Go buy Michael Penix. I think he's undervalued right now. I think that, you know, just sticking him on your taxi squad is an excellent move for any Superflex Dynasty manager right now. But a true sleeper on this offense is probably going to be Darnell Mooney, as we are looking at a pretty vacant wide receiver room in Atlanta. It's going to be Drake London and Kyle Pitts. And then after that, it is probably going to be Darnell Mooney, who has a little bit of the field stretcher capabilities with his sub 4.4 speed. He already has a season in the NFL with over 1,000 yards back in 2021. And so I think that Darnell Mooney has a pretty solid potential here on this offense. I'm not saying he'll get 1,000 yards or anything like that. But, you know, could he get like 700 and a few touchdowns? Yeah. And at his price tag of wide receiver 84 right now, I'm buying in on that. I think that, you know, with that contract, 3 years, about $39 million, kind of the same contract that like Curtis Samuel and Gabe Davis got. That's a little bit of a commitment to this player. It's not, of course, a huge commitment, but a decent commitment. That's a lot of money to play a player. So I think he is going to have a little bit of a role on this offense. I think he's going to add some speed. I think he's going to score some touchdowns. So give me some Darnell Mooney on the Atlanta Falcons right now. Kendre Miller is next for the New Orleans Saints, wherever his picture is. Here we go. And really, this is more of a contingent upside play. And it's starting to seem like we're also hearing some rumblings that, you know, Alvin Kamara may not be a true workhorse anymore for the Saints and just kind of come in for the pass catching and maybe first and second instead of also third down. And I think that'll open the door for Kendre Miller, who is now another year removed from his injury, still only 22 years old, still has the third round draft capital. And last year had some okay performances. I'm not going to say they were great or anything, but in week 5, he had 12 carries and 4 receptions for 90 yards. And then in week 18, he had 13 carries and 1 reception for 79 yards and a touchdown. You know, in both of those games, he scored over 13 fantasy points, which is not too shabby. So I think that Kendre Miller has a little bit of a potential here. I think that he's probably the RB2 over Jamal Williams and will be okay, right? Alvin Kamara, he's 29 years old. You know, and also the Saints have an out on his contract after this season. So I think that Kendre Miller, if it isn't this season, probably next season also has a good chance. But, you know, if an injury were to happen, Kendre Miller should have really a lot of upside in this offense as both a pass catching running back and a guy who could run between the tackles too. Now, of course, Jamal Williams would probably vulture some touchdowns if it became a Kendre Miller-Williams type backfield, but Jamal Williams was not that good last year, at least compared to how he was in Detroit. So anyway, I want to buy in on Kendre Miller right now. He's sitting at RB50, and I think especially if I have Kamara, I want him, but even if I don't, I do think that there's some decent upside here, and we should be trying to roster Kendre Miller. I'm not sure why we gave up on him, to be honest. I mean, we were using our second-round rookie picks on a guy that tore his ACL and was injured and went into a muggy landing spot with Alvin Kamara already there. And a lot of people were like, oh, he's going to be the starter and kill Alvin Kamara. That was never going to be the case. I was fading Kendre Miller all year last year. But here we are. Things have changed. It's another year removed. His value is way cheaper, and he's still a good athlete. So I'm buying in on Kendre Miller. I like his chances this season. To the Buccaneers, we'll go with a guy who I think is being disrespected for no reason. Why do we live in a world where Jalen McMillan is being drafted over Trey Palmer right now? Why is that happening? I can't think of a reason. I can't think of a single reason why you would take Jalen McMillan over Trey Palmer right now. I know we're in rookie hype season, but one guy was already on the team, and one guy produced on the team, and one guy has a good production profile, and one guy has a good connection with the quarterback and already knows the playbook and everything, and probably has a lockdown role on the outside, and one guy is new and, you know, not that good. So anyway, Trey Palmer, I think, is a great value right now. He's sitting at wide receiver 90 on the PlayerProfiler rankings. And we saw from him last year really, really good performances, especially towards the end of the season. Week 16, he had 6 targets. Week 17, he had 5 targets. Week 18, he had 6 targets. And then in the playoffs, he scored a touchdown against the Eagles. And then against Detroit, he didn't do too much, but that was more of a nature of that game, really, more than anything. But Trey Palmer, like I said, in that scenario, started getting some targets towards the end of the season with Chris Godwin out there, with Mike Evans out there. He earned kind of the wide receiver 2, the outside wide receiver 2 role, right? Chris Godwin's the wide receiver 2, but Trey Palmer's going outside. Chris Godwin's moving back into the slot. And we saw from Trey Palmer last year with his 4.33 40-yard dash, he was able to burn people. He was 13th in the league in route win rate and had the 22nd most total route wins in general among all wide receivers. And that's a total from the whole season. And it wasn't like he was getting significant snaps throughout the season. It took a while for him to get there since he was a rookie. And his win rate versus man was also 22nd. You know, he was really, really good against man coverage. 93rd percentile college dominator as well. 6 feet, 192 pounds, pretty solid profile. And his best comparable, Santana Moss, a guy who was awesome in the NFL. Anyway, Trey Palmer, I think, has been disrespected right now. I'm not sure why he's being drafted behind Jalen McMillan in redraft right now. And I'm not sure why Trey Palmer is hitting waiver wires in a lot of dynasty leagues. I am scooping up Mr. Palmer wherever I can. And the last NFC South player is Mr. Hubba Hubbard, who also I think is being a little disrespected. And don't get me wrong, I love Jonathan Brooks. I think he's going to be awesome. But I also totally understand that A, Jonathan Brooks is a rookie, and B, he's coming off of an injury. As much as I expect Jonathan Brooks to succeed for the Carolina Panthers, I do not expect him to succeed by like week 5. You know, I think that Hubba Hubbard's going to have this backfield pretty early in the season, pretty handily even. Last year, we saw a really good year from Hubba Hubbard. He had 900 rush yards. He had 200 receiving yards. He averaged over 10 points per game. His workout, or all of his metrics in general, were pretty solid. He was like top 30 in a number of them, which is, you know, a starting running back. And so anyway, a 2,000-yard rusher in college. From weeks 12 to 18, didn't have a single game under 11 points. I mean, he was just on fire last year once he took over the starting role. And I just think that, you know, this is his contract season with the Panthers. I think that since Jonathan Brooks was the running back they drafted, that it's going to take some time, that they'll have to ease Brooks into the offense, into the NFL in general. And Hubba Hubbard will see significant snaps early in the season. Now, it might have to be a little bit of a get out situation where you have him now and then you sell him when the season starts and he's gaining some points. But either way, right now he's sitting at RB 46, and I do think you're going to get some usage from him next season while Jonathan Brooks gets eased in. I think he's going to be fine. I mean, we saw some decent production from him. Not many running backs have run for 2,000 yards in a season. So anyway, I think that this is a player we shouldn't be giving up on, even with Jonathan Brooks arriving in town. We're not giving up on James Conner with Trey Benson. And I know Hubba Hubbard's not James Conner, but still, he's pretty good. He was fine. And not even 25 yet. He's 24.9, still pretty young. So anyway, Hubba Hubbard, I think, is a little bit of a sleeper here on the Carolina Panthers. I see a lot of questions in the chat, so I'm going to check them out. But while I check those out, let's run a little bit of an ad break. We are halfway through our 16 sleepers. Let's hear a little bit about Dynasty Deluxe.
This episode is brought to you by Player Profiler, the Dynasty Deluxe package. The rankings are the best in the industry. It includes strategy mode where you can say, hey, change the rankings to be win now. Oh, change the rankings to be productive struggle. There's also a draft planner to help strategize where you should take players because the draft planner also includes ADP. There's a trade finder where we look up on My Fantasy League and we see trades that are done, including a particular player. Then there's a trade analyzer where you can plug in draft picks, players, and we assign a lifetime value to draft picks out 5 years. The best thing about our trade analyzer, it can't be gamed with volume. And there's mock draft data to see right now what's the market for player X versus player Y, including in the fall when very few mock drafts are happening. And our Dynasty guide, the Dynasty Dominator, would cost you $10 on Amazon, but you get it for free with Dynasty Deluxe, and you get our rookie guide for free, a $25 value. So you get all of that for $45. I mean, it's a great deal.
I didn't expect the chat just to be about Pip. But yes, I have a pet parrot, Hisham. I do. Step up, bud. No, I'm just going to grab him. This is him. The green screen doesn't help. There. Oh, yeah, we can put him here. This is Pip. He's an awesome little guy. He's about 9 years old now. I've had him since a baby. He's awesome. I love him very much. And yes, I also have a rabbit that is running around and sometimes causes some issues with his teeth as he is a little bit of a chewer. But anyway, we're back to sleepers. The NFC East is upon us, and we're going to talk some Will Shipley. Not too much to talk about here. I'm not going to lie. This is total contingent upside. I am a huge believer in Saquon Barkley this season on the Philadelphia Eagles. But if anything were to happen to him, it will be Will Shipley who can come in and probably be pretty damn good for us. He has a 4.42 40-yard dash per his high school metrics, so he was probably even faster. He didn't test. But even at Clemson, he had 1,000 yards rushing his sophomore season, 800 last year, and in both seasons has had over 30 receptions and 200 receiving yards, scoring some touchdowns as well. This is a receiving back with a solid athletic profile with okay draft capital in the 4th round. If anything were to happen to Saquon Barkley, I do think that Will Shipley would be awesome. So I think this is a handcuff plus situation. Like, he might get some pass catching work, probably not. Again, I'm a huge believer in Saquon Barkley. I think that dude's going to be on the field like 85% of the time. But you know, if anything happens, I think Will Shipley's going to come in. So I want to roster him right now. He's sitting at running back 48. And also, I'm just going to go ahead and use this opportunity. None of us, if any of you are listening to this right now, if Dallas Goedert gets hurt, do not pick up an Eagles tight end. I don't know how often we have to fall for this. Or if anything happens with AJ Brown, don't get excited about Olamide Zaccheaus, right? Like, it's gonna just be Devontae Smith, like it, or Jalen Hurts, like, or whatever. Like, it isn't. This is one of those weird offenses where, like, if someone goes down, there's not really a next man up. We've tried, right? Julio Jones last year, like, it's just bad. Like, it sucks. It just clogs your roster. So, like, you have your Eagle starters. I think that Will Shipley might be an interesting case, and it seems the running backs in general, like, handcuffs are handcuffs. But yeah, Paris Campbell is a good point. Like, don't do this. Just don't do this. Like, it's not like just don't do it. We're not going to do it. We're saying it here right now, May 24th, when November 8th comes around, and we're talking about picking up Paris Campbell. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Go pick up someone else. It's not going to mean anything. It's just going to clog your roster. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to another team in the NFC East. And we'll go with the New York Giants. We'll talk some Wan'D Robinson, as I think that I'm pretty excited about Wan'D Robinson's season this year. He's right now sitting at wide receiver 75, but we have seen some okay production from Wan'D Robinson. Last year, he had over 500 yards, and in back-to-back seasons now, he has averaged 8 or more points per game. He, of course, had the injury his rookie season, but one thing that's really cool about Wan'D Robinson is he might be, you know, the person kind of getting a lot of the Saquon Barkley usage. He has abysmally low ADOT. Last year, he was 97th in average target distance with 5.3. And for the most part, you know, 109th in unrealized air yards with only 172. A lot of his damage comes after the catch, 34th in yards after the catch with 287. That's right. More than half of his receiving yards came after the catch. So that's just the type of receiver he is. And with Saquon gone, I could see them, you know, utilizing him a lot, whether it be out of the backfield, like doing some stuff like that, or just, you know, screens, random jet sweeps and fun stuff like that, short routes. And it's just going to be a big part of this offense. And I know that it's not a great offense on the New York Giants, but I mean, it's probably going to be Malik Neighbors and Wan'D Robinson kind of catching everything. And maybe one of the tight ends, Daniel Bellinger or Theo Johnson, breaks out, but it could just kind of be a sum of those two parts. Wan'D Robinson, of course, still has the 2nd round draft capital, is still only 23 years old, and has that 4.4 speed, which is awesome, has the slot frame at 5'8", 175. And again, you know, does all of his damage kind of behind the line of scrimmage or near it, but is really, really good after the catch. And even a pretty good route runner, as he was 4th in target separation last year, which, you know, we could find out if that's cushion or what, since it was so close to the line of scrimmage. But either way, I think the Giants will rely on him in the absence of Saquon Barkley. They have now their explosive deep threat and really all over threat with Malik Neighbors. Now they have the kind of gadgety guy with Wan'D Robinson that they used their 2nd round pick on just a couple seasons ago. And on to the Commanders, another player from just a couple seasons ago's draft is Jahan Dotson. And really, I got to go ahead and say it. I think everyone on the Commanders is a sleeper. I'm not going to lie. I think every single one of them. I am using my chance on this broadcast to say that. I think you should be buying Jaden Daniels. I think you should be buying Brian Robinson. I think you should be buying Austin Eckler. I think you should be buying Terry McLaurin. I think you should be buying Luke McCaffrey. I think you should be buying Zach Ertz and Ben Sinnott. All of them. I think are really cheap right now. But Jahan Dotson is even cheaper right now, sitting at wide receiver 65. They used their first round pick on him just a couple seasons ago, and he showed us why. In his rookie season, he had 7 touchdowns, averaged over 10 points per game, but last year couldn't really get much going, only had 500 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns, a worse season. And most of that came from Sam Howell just not really being a quarterback who could spread it around enough. I mean, we saw with Jacoby Brissett when he came in his limited action, how much better Terry McLaurin looked with him. So I think that Jahan Dotson with a new offense, we've got Cliff Kingsbury coming in who air raids it all the time. And then Jaden Daniels, who has a rocket for an arm. I think this is just going to be an electric offense. I really do. If it clicks, right? And I think it will. So Jahan Dotson, I'm buying into. Terry McLaurin will be gone one day. I think Jahan Dotson should be fine. 18th in route wins last year, which is awesome. And he has the reported connection with Jaden Daniels as well. Jahan Dotson came out in an interview a couple weeks ago. We talked about it here. He actually worked with Jaden Daniels while he was the quarterback at Arizona State. They had some time together working in the offseason going into Jahan Dotson's rookie season. So they already have a little bit of a connection. And I think I saw a clip the other day with Jaden Daniels throwing it to Jahan Dotson. So right now he's super cheap. We've seen production from him before. We have the first round draft capital. Give me Jahan Dotson. And the last NFC East team is, of course, the Dallas Cowboys. And I'll ask you guys, put it in the chat. Who do you think is my Dallas Cowboys sleeper? I wonder who it could be. I wonder what sleeper I want from the Dallas Cowboys. Can anyone guess? Can anyone guess what my Cowboys sleeper is? I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can. It is Ryan Flournoy. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Anthony. Yeah. I've talked about this guy a lot now on this channel, but just a big fan of what will happen with Ryan Flournoy and what has happened with Ryan Flournoy. First off, this is a guy who has a really good workout metrics that honestly surprised me. He has the 4.44 40-yard dash. All of his workout metrics, his speed score, his burst score, his catch radius are above the 80th percentile. He's got good size. He's 6'1", 202 pounds. He got a really good landing spot with the Dallas Cowboys. The wide receiver 3 role is entirely open, and arguably the wide receiver 2 role is open, depending on how you feel about Brandon Cooks. Ryan Flournoy is a guy that has had quite a path to get to where he is today. He was a late bloomer, I found out. I was looking into his high school stuff. A 0-star recruit out of high school because he was only 5'10" as a senior. Somehow grew more in college, grew to the 6'1", 202 pounds that we now like. But he was a 0-star recruit, undersized, went D2, was still kind of undersized. Things didn't really work out. So he had to go the JUCO route. And then unfortunately in JUCO, he tore his ACL and then recovered from the ACL, led his JUCO team in receiving the next season, then was able to transfer D1, where he led Southeast Missouri State in receiving in back-to-back seasons as well. He then used that to earn a Senior Bowl invite, where he stood out, in my opinion, among all the wide receivers. I made him an honorable mention behind Lab McConkey, Roman Wilson, Brendan Rice. Ryan Flournoy was just a stud there, consistently earning targets, a really crisp route runner, solid hands, good speed, right? Anything you were like, a good frame at 6'1", 200 pounds. And, after standing out at the Senior Bowl, earned a late combine invite because he looked so good at the Senior Bowl. Like, it was like awesome. And then he stands out at the combine. Then he gets drafted. Like, I didn't even think this guy would be drafted. And then he was, to a great spot in Dallas. So I am getting all the Ryan Flournoy I can. I cannot wait to see what happens with him. And I really, really do hope that he hits. Again, we're talking about wide receiver 3 here on the Cowboys, but that is some potential. I mean, it's pretty much just CeeDee Lamb earning some targets there and maybe some Jake Ferguson. They're going to pass the ball. And if any injury happens to Brandon Cooks, I mean, Flournoy is going to shoot through the roof. But even if he doesn't, I honestly think he's going to be fine. Being mentored by Chris Carter right now as well, I found out. I mean, like, what else do you want from a guy? Seriously. Like, this is the sleeper of all sleepers right here, guys. Ryan Flournoy, get him. Which leads us now to the NFC West. And we'll head over to Los Angeles, talk some Rams, as Matthew Stafford, one of the greatest quarterbacks we have ever seen in the game. And right now, quarterback 27 on Player Profiler rankings, about the same on Keep Trade Cut as well. And this is a guy who just a couple seasons ago was a top 5 quarterback. over the season. He had over almost 5,000 passing yards and 41 passing touchdowns, averaging 20 points per game. Matthew Stafford is awesome. And something that is really cool is this Rams offense is getting better, right? Blake Corum, they brought in the draft. Cooper Kupp is now coming back a year removed from his injury recovery. And then Puka Nacua going into year 2 in general. I think that this Rams offense is going to take a step forward, and Matthew Stafford is going to be a big part of that. I mean, he's an awesome quarterback. He is only 36 years old, which is not that bad. It really isn't. I mean, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers ranked about the same, and he's 40. Matthew Stafford still definitely has a lot left in the tank. Last year, he had 4,000 passing yards, specifically 3,965, but come on, and had 24 passing touchdowns. Could have been a little bit more if Cooper Kupp was healthy all year, I'm sure. And he's just still top of the league in just so many metrics that it's just hard to give up on this guy. So I love myself some Matthew Stafford. I'm buying into him wherever I can. On the Cardinals, going with Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson right now, wide receiver 59. And last year, his rookie season was pretty good. He had 565 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns, and he was top 6 in both production and target premiums, showing that he was a good producer and also being targeted in some important ways. And we saw from him some spike weeks as well. He had 26 points in week 4 against Charvarius Ward. And in week 17 and 18, he scored 15 points in both of them. One against Kele Ringo and the other against Devon Witherspoon, who were both pretty solid corners last year. And he has had some volume as well. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games with over 6 targets as a rookie in this offense. I think Michael Wilson right now is a value, and I want to buy into him on this Cardinals offense. We still have Marvin Harrison Jr. there, of course, but Hollywood is gone. So it's really just going to be Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, Michael Wilson. I know they brought in Zay Jones, but he has a health issue, and it's Zay Jones we're talking about here. This is a guy who never really did too much. I know he had some spike weeks with Jacksonville last year, but the Cardinals used their 3rd-round draft pick on Michael Wilson last year. I think they have big plans in store for him. He's got the good prototypical flanker size at 6'1", 216 pounds. So I am buying into him. I think he's going to be solid for us on our fantasy teams. Next is Noah Fant on the Seattle Seahawks. Noah Fant right now is the only tight end on the Seahawks. Last year, it was him, Will Dissly, and Colby Parkinson. They are both now gone. And if you were to add up all their yardage and touchdowns last year, we'd be looking at roughly 800 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is pretty good. 400 of those yards came from Noah Fant last year, which was surprising. I felt like he did nothing, but no, he still had 400 receiving yards. He didn't score any touchdowns, which was the big concern when it comes to him. But Noah Fant, despite being in the league for so long, is still only 26 years old. And we've kind of seen this before with very athletic tight ends just taking some time to finally click and break out. With Evan Ingram, for example, David Njoku, for example. Noah Fant now 26 with insane athleticism. All of his workout metrics are 95th percentile or better. He's 6'4", 250 pounds, and he's going to an offense now with new coordinator Ryan Grubbs, who threw the ball more than almost any team in college football last year. They were second in NCAA in pass attempts, only 3 pass attempts behind first place. I mean, way up there. Passing the ball over 550 times last year. It was insane how much the Washington Huskies were throwing the ball. I think that philosophy will be brought to Seattle as well. They've got the 3 wide receivers, JSN, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, but they also have an explosive tight end in Noah Fant. I want to buy him right now, tight end 23, and I feel like you could get him for even cheaper. I feel like so many people have given up on the Fantster, but I don't think it's time yet. I think that we should keep holding on. That athleticism is there. And he still had 400 yards last year, despite a crowded tight end room, despite a crowded target room in general, that really wasn't passing the ball a lot. So I'll go with Noah Fant on the Seattle Seahawks. And our final NFC sleeper is Isaac Guerendo. And that's really just because Elijah Mitchell has never been healthy. I think that Isaac Guerendo is the backup running back here in San Francisco. I think he'll be the handcuff. He has insane size and speed at 6 foot, 220 pounds, and still somehow runs a 4.3 40-yard dash. Last year, Christian McCaffrey only had a 75% opportunity share, which is, of course, really high. But there's always been a little bit of a slasher in the San Francisco running back room that just comes in and tries to hit a home run. Isaac Guerendo is going to be that. And if an injury happens, I think that there's some massive contingent upside here. So, yeah, Isaac Guerrero, I'm buying into. We saw in Elijah Mitchell's rookie season, he had over 1,000 all-purpose yards, scored 6 touchdowns, was top 15 in points per game. Explosive home run hitting running backs on the San Francisco offense are awesome. And so I want Isaac Guerrero right now while he is the RB 56, because I think if he has even one breakaway touchdown run, he's going to be impossible to acquire. People are going to latch onto that because Christian McCaffrey's only getting older, and the San Francisco 49ers always have a good running back. I like Guerrero a lot. I think he's speedy, shifty, and going to earn some snaps even with Christian McCaffrey there. But if an injury happens, there's some massive contingent upside. So that is 16 sleepers from the NFC. Yesterday was 16 sleepers from the AFC, one per team. So go check out yesterday's episode if you liked today's. Now let's go ahead and hop into the chat, see if we have any questions this wonderful Friday. I like Schrader too is not necessarily a question, but I like it. I like Schrader a lot also. I think that he was second last year at NCAA in rush yards, which is awesome, but Cody Schrader is also a little bit of a receiving back too. I will say it wasn't crazy impressive to me at the Senior Bowl. He was just fine, but it is what it is. I think that, he could learn a lot, soak up some stuff from Christian McCaffrey even, and maybe be that type of running back. Maybe, of course, never to that degree, but he should be, fine. I like him too. I think I'll go ahead and put my take out there. I do think if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, it will be a split backfield between Guerrero and Schrader, because I don't think Guerrero is a workhorse type running back. If he was, I think he would have done that in college, and he just didn't. So anyway. I see a question here. Can you train a bunny to use a litter box? This is true. My bunnies are litter box trained. Yeah, it's 100% true. They the way you do it is you put their food in the litter box, or like on a little hanger, and bunnies use the bathroom where they eat. It's a fact. So yes, if you have a bunny, you can actually very easily litter train it because they are creatures of habit. They smell very strong. If they go to the bathroom somewhere, they continue to go to the bathroom. You can eventually remove the food out of there too. It was a very, very easy process. It literally took like a couple days for my bunny to learn how to use the potty. Anyway. Eckler and Robinson is a good floor pairing. I agree. If you can pull them both off, I would do it. Actually, I have them both in the Trade Gods League, and I'm pretty happy about it. Someone asked something earlier in the show. I was trying to find it. It was something about my Dynasty performance. I'm going to be honest here. Where was this? Somebody asked, what was my worst and best Dynasty? Oh, here we go. It's Chuka. What is your best and worst finish in your Dynasty leagues? I'll be honest. 3 years ago, my first Dynasty league, I finished 7th, which was my worst. I finished 7th. That was my worst. Ever since then, I have not done worse than 7th. I generally make the playoffs or right on the bubble. Yes, I'm one of those guys who maybe is on the treadmill of mediocrity in a lot of leagues, but I don't like to lose. I don't. And I make sure I do everything in my power to win, even if my team is ass. I don't care. I'm not a rebuild guy, which has hurt one of my squads. But it is what it is, right? I'll figure it out. I figure it out. I always do. I have fun in my Dynasty leagues. I've won leagues. I haven't lost a league, or I haven't come in last ever, but I've been close. Got 7th. So anyway, that is my answer. When am I going to buy Reese Salmon off of you in the Trade Gods League? I'm going to be honest, Prince. I don't think I am going to buy Reese Salmon off of you. Look, guys, I told you guys when I talked about it here, I love the story, but I don't his path to fantasy relevancy is so slim that I'm going to just take the wait and see approach. If it happens, it happens. But I think that if anything, Reese Salmon is just going to be a kick return guy. And I don't know yet how that is going to affect our scoring. I know we do a special team scoring in the Trade Gods League. So of course I'm mildly interested in Reese Salmon, but I don't want to pay the iron price yet. I don't know. I want to watch more of this process. As exciting as it is. How much pace of play going to increase with the offensive coordinator change in Seattle? I think a little bit. They were pretty close to bottom of the league last year, if I remember. But I don't know if they're going to go much faster. While I am talking about Ryan Grubbs being someone who passes the ball a ton, they did make Mike McDonald the head coach, who is a defensive coordinator, who probably also likes the running game a lot. But I think if anything, it's going to be pretty balanced. I think that Kenneth Walker, if anything, is going to be the biggest buy in this offense. I really do think that it's going to be a strong play action offense, and I think Kenneth Walker is going to handle the rock a ton. But I also think they're going to pass the ball a ton. I just think it's going to be pretty fun offense, really. Anyway, is Corum a must? own already because of Kyren Williams' foot news. No, I would wait. This Kyren Williams news, I think we can trust Sean McVay's words. Honestly, he says it's not a big deal and he expects him to be fully healthy for training camp. And it was just a minor tweak. So we'll find out, right? But I don't want, like right now, the hype for Blake Corum is through the roof. I am not paying the current Blake Corum prices. I'm not. If anything, I might try to scoop up Kyren. What other zoo animals do I have? I have a cockatiel. I have 2 bunnies. And then I have a parakeet as well. Yeah. Does Kareem Hunt sign anywhere? I'm going to go with yes at some point. Do I see any NFL trades for running backs this offseason? Probably. I think that it's been kind of quiet in the trade department. I think we'll hear something. You traded Kyren for the 1929 and now I mean, that's an awesome trade. Awesome. Who starts more games at quarterback for the Raiders this year? Gardner Minshew. I will say, we talked about him on my undrafted free agent episode. I like Carter Bradley a lot. He's the undrafted free agent quarterback they brought in. He's Gus Bradley's son, who, of course, was a coach for the Raiders at one point. But also, he is a really big standout for the Senior Bowl, in my opinion. Carter Bradley screams quarterback 2, like just a backup quarterback. I don't think he's ever a starter or anything, but he just has what it takes to be a backup quarterback. He has the intangibles. He's a good pocket passer, and he understands the NFL. He understands defenses and all that stuff. His dad's Gus Bradley. But, he lacks a lot of the ceiling and all that stuff. But, if anything happens to either Minshew or O'Connell, I could see Bradley coming in and being fine too. I like this quarterback room. I do. I like Gardner Minshew. I think he'll be fine. Let's see. Yes, Kyren has been injured a lot. I do want Blake Corum, just not the second. We're still here's the deal. I'll end it on this. Here's the deal. We are in rookie hype season. Every rookie is overvalued right now. Every single one. Marvin Harrison Jr., Caleb Williams, Malik Neighbors, Robert Dunsey. They are overvalued right now. We will see it shift. Some of them, they will retain their value. Some of them will lose their value. Some of them will gain some value, but as of right now, they're overvalued. We have not seen them play a snap of football, and we will probably see a buying opportunity for most, if not all, rookies at some point again in this season. For example, Jonathan Brooks. I just talked about Hubba Hubbard. Hubba Hubbard's probably going to come out and start the season. When that happens, you could probably go swoop in and buy Jonathan Brooks, much like we're talking about with Kendre Miller this year as a sleeper. Last year, he was so expensive because of rookie hype. But if you had just waited until the season, mid-season, or even now, you could just acquire him for nothing. It's just we're in rookie hype season. Let's see what happens with the Rams running back room. There's still plenty of time for Kyren Williams to get healthy and play some football. And Kyren Williams, more than likely, if he's healthy for week 1, is going to see a majority of the snaps on the Rams offense. And if that happens, you will be able to buy Blake Corum for way cheaper than you can right now. It's the same thing with Marshawn Lloyd. It's the same thing with Jalen Wright. All of these backup running backs, just wait. Or draft them. Like if you already drafted him, a rookie draft, and hold on to him. But don't go pay up for these guys right now. Just take your patience, guys. When points come in, that's when you can start buying these rookies because they're not going to score as many points as people hope they will. And that's just always how it goes. So anyway. That's my spiel. That's how we're ending it today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was another fun episode of Wake and Take, and you guys were a great audience as always. I hope to see you all on Monday. I assume we'll be talking some OTA stuff and whatever other news has been happening. 10 a.m. Eastern on the Player Profiler, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You all have a fantastic Friday, a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all Monday. Peace.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.